Hey everyone, it's Kevin from Holy Fuck, It's a Music Podcast here with another quick update. More restrictions were eased today in the province. This is Tuesday, obviously. And I hope that everyone is enjoying a little bit more freedom, but still taking the precautions and visiting virtually as much as we can, observing the things that the provincial and federal governments are telling us. But still getting a little bit closer back to normal, maybe, hopefully. Tomorrow's episode that we drop is Chris Klein from Firing at the Sky, Morally Sound, and of course his new solo acoustic shows. Good friend of mine, great musician, great guy, and that was a good chat too. So I think you'll enjoy that one. We still don't have our podcast released on the digital platforms. That was entirely my fault. Reading back through the recommendations, we were supposed to do a trailer and release that as sort of a first episode, and then that would get us onto the platforms a little bit earlier. So we're still waiting. It usually takes, I guess, 7 to 10 days. So we should be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those kinds of platforms within the next 3 or 4 days, so hopefully this week. As soon as that happens, then I'll post that an update and let you guys know, and we'll send you links for all those locations. I wanted to tell you about our next guest in episode 4. Obviously I told you Ross Nikiforik is episode 3. Episode 4 is Mark Heisey, who most of you would know from Rebellion Brewing Co. in Regina, an award-winning home brewer, BJCP judge, big guy in the craft beer world, and a big guy also in the Regina business community, especially the warehouse district in Regina. He's been a very vocal proponent and supporter of business renewal in that district, and has been doing a lot of great work there with local businesses and other sort of community leaders. But Mark's also an avid music fan and a musician and a band leader, singer, guitarist. Is eclectic range of tastes in music, as well as an eclectic taste in fashion. So it was great to actually sit down and talk with Mark a little bit one-on-one about music. I've spoken to him a lot about beer, but getting some background on his musical sort of origins and who he listened to, who he loves, what excites him was a lot of fun, and we really enjoyed that episode. I posted out on Sunday our podcast share that we do, and I just wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit. I know that Mark Maron, as I said in that post, it was a huge influence on me wanting to get into podcasting. And I think one of the reasons for that was that he really engages with the people he talks to. It's not so much about just sort of them giving a history of their careers or pushing a new product. He likes to probe into who they actually are, and you get to learn a little bit about that person rather than it just being sort of a biopic type thing. So that was one of the things that I really enjoyed about that, and I'm hoping that we get into a little bit more of that in our podcast. And a couple of the more recent episodes, we've dug a little bit into some of those things too, which has been really interesting and very enriching and sort of gratifying on my part to get those conversations out of people. So Mark Maron, he hosts the What the Fuck podcast, interviews lots of musicians. Springsteen's been on there, Keith Richards, John Fogerty. Like, he's interviewed a lot of really high-end musicians, and again, gets a lot of sort of stuff you haven't heard before from them. So I love listening to his podcast. During lockdown, he actually moved his relatively new girlfriend into his house, Lynn Shelton, the director, who is an excellent director, Touchy-Feely, Hump Day, a lot of sort of smaller independent movies, but she's also done a lot of TV. And they've been together for about a year, I guess, and he posted the episode that they recorded together, and you could tell that there was obviously a sort of a human connection between the two of them, so it wasn't too much of a surprise that they ended up together. So it was really, really, really sad that I think it was on Saturday, that she actually passed away from a blood condition. So it's one of those weird things that with a podcast sometimes, and especially as prolific as he is, he does 2 per week, and he's done that for, 12, 13 years. You sort of get to know a person and you feel like you know them a little bit. And so when you get that human connection with people, when they lose someone, it sort of impacts you as well. And I found myself really quite melancholy with that. And of course, I don't know the guy and I've never met him, and I probably never will, but you still feel that sense of loss on his behalf. So it's kind of that odd thing that I think podcast as a medium allows you to do more, is really connect on a human level with people. And so I was kind of thinking about that this weekend, and we did our record on Sunday, which I'll tell you about in 2 episodes or 2 updates time, I guess, or something around there. Fantastic conversation, and it really kind of, that engagement and that connection with another human being was one of the topics that we discussed in that podcast, and it sort of really made me think about all those things. So I hope that you feel the same way as we grow and build this podcast out, that you get to know Randy and I a little bit, but really get to know our guests, and that's always our aim with that. That's about all for the update, really. I will, like I said, I'll post out probably, I'm hoping, on Thursday or Friday when all the digital platforms are live and ready. I'll let you know. And then we will hopefully see you tune in tomorrow for the Chris Klein episode. Bye-bye.